This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. It's Monday, September 9th, 2024. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Trump and Harris spend the final weekend before Tuesday's debate campaigning and prepping. I'm John Stolnis.
Reported warnings from a school shooter in Georgia's mother.
At least 5 people were injured after someone opened fire along I-75. I'm Julie Walker.
A missing Oregon bride is found dead. We'll tell you who police charged.
On Wall Street, investors start a fresh week of trading today, coming off the worst week for stocks in a year. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Norman Hull reports that another school shooting, this one in Maryland, leaves a 15-year-old dead.
2 battleground states make key rulings on whether Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can remain on the presidential ballot. I'm Jeff McKay.
All ahead on America in the Morning. In the final weekend before Tuesday night's big debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, the former president visited the battleground state of Wisconsin, while the vice president hunkered down in Pittsburgh for debate prep. John Stolnis has more.
Vice President Harris emerging from days of debate prep Saturday to visit a spice store in Pittsburgh's Strip District. Speaking to reporters, Harris said she was glad to be free for a couple of hours.
Best part of debate prep for you? What's your favorite part?
Being at the spice store, I finally got out of the debate prep to look at these spices.
Harris also reacting to the endorsement of Liz Cheney and former Vice President Dick Cheney for her, 2 longstanding conservative Republicans.
Actually, I'm honored to have their endorsement, and I think that what they both, as leaders who are well respected, are making an important statement that it's okay and, if not important, to put country above party.
On ABC's This Week, former Congresswoman Cheney said November's election is a binary choice.
Casting a vote for Donald Trump or writing someone in means that you've made the decision in too many instances that so many elected Republicans have made, which is to abandon the Constitution.
Meanwhile, Harris was asked if there was one message she wants to make sure Trump hears at Tuesday's debate.
Look, it's time to turn the page on the divisiveness. It's time to bring our country together, chart a new way forward.
Trump held a rally in Mosinee, Wisconsin, touting his economic plan, which includes reciprocal tariffs on goods made in foreign countries.
So if China or any other country charges us a 100 or 200% tariff or tax, then we will likewise charge them a 100 or 200% tariff or tax in return.
Trump also continues to talk about illegal immigration.
Colorado's one state. It's much worse in other states. But in Colorado, they've taken over. I mean, in Colorado, they're so brazen, they're taking over sections of the state. And, you know, getting them out will be a bloody story.
The former president also said he doesn't think anyone in the mainstream press will admit it if he wins the debate with Harris on Tuesday.
If I destroy her in the debate, they'll say, Trump suffered a humiliating defeat tonight. No matter what.
The debate will be held at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia on ABC News at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm John Stolnis.
We're learning more about potential warning signs ahead of last week's school shooting in Georgia that left 4 people dead. 2 students and 2 teachers killed in the shooting at Appalachia High School. Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith spoke with ABC News about the heartache that his community is dealing with.
We go to work every day prepared with a vest. We go to work every day armed. Those teachers don't. They go in preparations to teach a child how to make it in the world. All of us have. Those teachers are heroes, too. Those kids are heroes.
Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia lifting up students and educators in his state on CNN's State of the Union yesterday.
I was there with these families on Friday night with the people of Winder, Georgia. And as I sat there, I couldn't help but think about the fact that we should have been at a football game. These young kids should have been cheering on their classmates, and instead they were mourning the loss of 2 teachers and 2 of their classmates.
The 14-year-old alleged shooter was arrested and is behind bars today. Over the weekend, reports surfaced that his mother claims she warned the school ahead of the shooting of an extreme emergency.
When we heard the shots, we kind of all just dropped to the floor and flung ourselves into a corner.
This student spoke with ABC.
Then he fired about 10 to 15 shots. You don't think like the kid that sits next to you in class is just gonna like shoot up your school one day.
Authorities still investigating a motive, and investigators have not said anything on reports about warning signs at the school. The suspect's father, though, was jailed for allegedly buying him a gun linked to the killings. Lawmakers like Warnock refusing to place blame on administrators and insisting that now is a time to show support. This is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia getting some pushback over her social media feed, pleading for thoughts and prayers for Appalachia victims in one post and ripping DOJ red flag laws in others. Terror on a Kentucky interstate will bring you the latest on a continued search for a suspect when America in the Morning returns after this. Waking up on this early September morning with the potential threat of activity in the Gulf. Want to go to Matt Rendy, our meteorologist. He's tracking that for us this morning. Matt?
After what has been an unusually quiet period in the tropics, we are now looking at a developing tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico today. This system will be moving slowly northward today, with some of the outer areas of rain reaching into South Texas later today into Monday night. This storm will gather intensity over the next couple of days, reaching a hurricane prior to landfall on Wednesday afternoon or evening around the Texas-Louisiana state line. Very heavy rain getting underway along South Texas later today will then continue up the coast through the day Wednesday. Rain amounts in South Texas could range from 2 to 4 inches by early Tuesday, with some flooding likely and additional rain to follow during the day Tuesday. Farther east, there'll be some showers and thunderstorms along a nearly stationary front in the region. This will reach areas along the Gulf Coast from Louisiana into northern Florida and then southern Georgia. A few of these storms could produce drenching rainfall. In the northeast, there will also be a few showers and thunderstorms from New York into northern Pennsylvania and then continuing into southern New England late today and early tonight. A few of these storms near Lake Ontario could produce gusty winds and hail. Otherwise, the nation is going to be largely quiet and dry with sunshine. We'll have a few scattered thunderstorms developing in the Four Corners area and some of the higher elevations, but these areas will be widely separated. Most of the time, it will be rain-free. It'll be comfortable across the Great Lakes and Northeast and Middle Atlantic with temperatures in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, though it's warming up in the plains with highs in the 90s to near 100. That's the weather across America. Los Angeles, California will have another scorcher of an afternoon with plenty of sunshine and a high of 103. Brownsville, Texas will become increasingly rainy with some gusty winds today and tonight and a high of 78. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rendy.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. It was a driver's worst nightmare as a sniper armed with an assault rifle began shooting at cars on a Kentucky interstate highway. As correspondent Julie Walker reports, schools will be closed today in the area as police continue their search for a person of interest in the case. Audio courtesy of Broadcastify and WYMT.
Around 48, northbound, southbound I-75. Got several people shot in different vehicles. Unknown direction shooter.
A manhunt is underway in Kentucky where at least 5 people were injured after someone opened fire along I-75 early Saturday evening.
Just called advising that they have had multiple gunshot victims on I-75 southbound around the 48. They've got en route the shooter. They don't know exactly where he is.
Emergency transmissions captured by Broadcastify.
The victims have been shot through the windshield.
The sheriff's office posting a picture of 32-year-old Joseph A. Couch, calling him a person of interest in the shooting.
We located an AR-15. It's going to be processed, and it is in a wooded area next to the interstate. In a location that he could have shot down upon the interstate from that wooded location.
London, Kentucky Mayor Randall Weddle says the search area is tough.
That is some rugged terrain and a lot of tree lines. If you guys know northern part of Laurel County, it's just is what it is. But I'm confident they will apprehend them. We are asking everybody in the city of Lemons to be vigilant and know what your surroundings. If you're home, keep your doors locked.
But he's confident the shooter will be found. I'm Julie Walker.
An Oregon nurse who vanished days after she returned home from her Hawaii wedding was found dead, and police have arrested her neighbor. 32-year-old cardiac nurse Melissa Jubain celebrated her wedding day just 2 weeks ago. When she failed to show up for work, police were called, finding her body 3 days later after a massive search. Police now allege that her Beaverton, Oregon neighbor was involved, charging 27-year-old Bryce Jonathan Schubert, who lived in the same apartment complex with the victim, with second-degree murder. And the NFL season is officially underway. So just how big of a boost does that bring to the American economy? We'll bring you Monday Business when America in the Morning returns after this. The Business Report brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments, a fiduciary always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with Monday Business.
Wall Street opens this new week of trading after an ugly Friday sell-off and a losing week. On Friday, investors got a look at a sluggish August jobs report, although the unemployment rate went down as the jobs market gets back to what some economists say is pre-pandemic normal. The S&P 500 index coming off its worst week in about a year, although it's still up 13% for the year.
We're still in suspense. I do think the market's been very clearly craving some reassurance on the growth side that we're just slowing and not stalling, and hasn't gotten it.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. The big economic data point coming this week, the latest on inflation day after tomorrow with the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. The U.S. created 142,000 jobs in August, fewer than the 160,000 that economists had forecast.
Look, in a normal world, this would be a good number because we've gotten so used to these big numbers near 200. Clearly, the job market's softened. Clearly, it's weakened. We have to take this number with a grain of salt because you have these downward revisions. That happens a lot.
CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman. And here's CNBC anchor Sarah Eisen.
The report was weaker. However, wage growth was firmer than expected. The unemployment rate actually fell. And the overall number represented an increase in job growth from July and June. Not all bad.
U.S. crude oil hit its lowest since June of 2023. Prices at the pump continue to drop. More than $1 billion in unpaid taxes has been recovered by the IRS, mostly from wealthy individuals making more than $1 million a year who, according to Reuters, owed at least $250,000 in back taxes.
So, Jessica, how is the NFL trying to grow its business?
You know, football season is on, and the NFL wants to find more international fans. They're doing that, of course, by moving more games overseas. 5 this season alone. Last Friday night, the Packers and the Eagles played in Brazil.
We hope this will really ignite this market and really become passionate football fans. And we're obviously continuing our games in Europe. We're continuing games in the UK. We'll be in Germany this year. We're going to Spain next year, hopefully back to Mexico next year. So we really believe playing the games is a big part of making our game global.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell on CNBC from Brazil. The next international game in the NFL will be Sunday, October 6th, when the Vikings and Jets play in the UK. On today's watch list, we get the latest data on consumer credit. Apple holds a new product event. The iPhone 16s are expected to be unveiled. Starbucks has a new CEO this morning who'll try to turn the chain around.
Rulings surrounding RFK Jr. on the ballot have been made in 2 battleground states. We'll tell you what the judges said when America in the Morning returns. Don't go anywhere. Police have charged a 16-year-old as an adult after a shooting in a suburban Baltimore, Maryland high school bathroom left a 15-year-old student dead. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
Authorities in Joppa, Maryland, about 20 miles northeast of Baltimore, say a fight in a bathroom led to the fatal shooting of a 15-year-old student at Joppa Town High. Harford County Sheriff Jeff Gawler.
We are not still releasing the name of the suspect in this case. He is, as I said, a 16-year-old, also a student at the school. He has yet to be charged, but will be charged, and at the time, those charges are preferred as an adult.
The suspect fled the scene, but was captured moments later nearby. I'm Norman Hall.
Judges in 2 battleground states have ruled in cases surrounding whether Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can remain on the 2024 election ballot. The latest from America in the Morning's Jeff McKay.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. called on his supporters to vote for Donald Trump no matter where they live, reversing instructions he gave 2 weeks ago when he told supporters to vote on the independent line if they lived in uncompetitive states. This change comes after he was able to remove his name from ballots in Florida, Ohio, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming, all of which were states where Trump is ahead in the polling. In battleground North Carolina and Michigan heading into the weekend, judges in both states ordered Kennedy's name to be removed from the ballots. That means they now must be reprinted and could cause delays for mail-in voting as well as overseas and military voters. The North Carolina Election Board is appealing the decision after already printing nearly 3 million ballots and now says it will start printing new ballots without Kennedy's name if their appeal is denied, despite a cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Michigan is also appealing their decision. Kennedy is also sued to have his name removed from the Wisconsin ballot, but lost his case in the Badger State. I'm Jeff McKay.
America in the Morning for Monday, September 9th is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout, and this is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Here's what's coming up this half hour. Both Trump and Harris spend the weekend in battleground states ahead of Tuesday's debate.
Liz Cheney says there's no way Ronald Reagan would have endorsed Donald Trump for president. I'm Pamela Furr.
The DOJ expands its investigation into Russian election interference. Correspondent Jackie Quinn has that.
A state of emergency issued in response to a raging line fire in San Bernardino. I'm Bob Brown.
A Florida Panhandle high school football player has died after collapsing during a game. I'm Mike Hempen.
Reports on the U.S.-Afghanistan military pullout expected today, and each paints a different picture. We'll be right back. Getting closer to fall as we wake up on this September morning. There is the threat of some activity in the Gulf of Mexico this week. Want to go out to our meteorologist, Matt Rindy. He's tracking that for us. Matt?
It has been unusually quiet in the tropics over the last few weeks, but we are now looking at a developing tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico today. This system will be moving slowly northward today, with some of the outer areas of rain reaching South Texas later today into Monday night. This storm will gather intensity over the next couple of days, reaching a hurricane prior to landfall on Wednesday afternoon or evening around the Texas-Louisiana state line. Very heavy rainfall will get underway along the South Texas coast later today and then continue upward along the coast through Wednesday. Rain amounts in South Texas will range from 2 to 4 inches by early Tuesday, with some flooding likely, and additional rain is likely to follow during the day Tuesday. Farther east, there'll be more showers and thunderstorms along a nearly stationary front in the region. This will reach areas along the Gulf Coast from Louisiana through northern Florida and southern Georgia today. A few of these storms could produce drenching rainfall. In the northeast, there'll be some showers and thunderstorms from New York into northern Pennsylvania and then continuing into southern New England late in the day and early tonight. A few of these storms near Lake Ontario could produce gusty winds and hail. Otherwise, the nation is going to be largely dry with some sunshine. We'll have a few scattered thunderstorms over the Four Corners and some of the higher elevations, but these will be widely separated, and most of the time it will be rain-free. It'll remain comfortable in the Great Lakes and Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic with temperatures in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, though it will warm up quite a bit in the plains from eastern Montana and the western Dakotas southward through Oklahoma and North Texas, where highs will be in the 90s with a few places reaching 100 or more. It'll also remain hot in the west with highs well into the 100s. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris spent the weekend in battleground states, with the vice president in Pennsylvania making small appearances and focusing on debate prep for her Tuesday matchup with Trump, while the former president was in Wisconsin holding a rally where he called for smaller government and abolishing the Department of Education. He also claimed he's been indicted more times than gangster Al Capone. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
We are going to win Wisconsin. We are going to defeat Comrade Kamala Harris. And we are going to win the White House, that gorgeous, beautiful White House. We're going to win it. And we're going to turn this country around, because this country is a failing nation right now.
At a Wisconsin rally Saturday, Republican Donald Trump said he's the best candidate to become president.
We're run by stupid people. Stupid people. And we found that out at the debate with Joe. How did that work out? And we're going to find it out again on Tuesday night. Is anybody going to be watching?
Trump's rally briefly interrupted when an attendee fainted.
Build a missile defense shield around our country. Keep critical race theory and transgender insanity the out of our schools. And we will keep men out of women's sports.
Meanwhile, he's scheduled to debate Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris on Tuesday.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
She spent the day prepping and campaigning in Pennsylvania.
It's time to bring our country together, chart a new way forward.
I'm Julie Walker.
In her first interview since she announced she would be voting for Kamala Harris, former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney tells ABC's This Week, hosted by Jonathan Karl, that Donald Trump is, in her words, not a conservative. Pamela Furr has the story.
We now have a Republican Party that is embracing isolationism, that is embracing Putin, that, we've seen just in the last week, the Republican vice presidential nominee willing to appear, willing to be interviewed by Tucker Carlson, who is platforming pro-Nazis, is himself pushing pro-Nazi propaganda. That is not the party of Ronald Reagan.
Cheney says it will be her first time voting for a Democrat.
My first vote I ever cast was for Ronald Reagan in 1984. I've never voted for a Democrat.
Wow.
And it tells you, I think, the stakes in this election.
She goes on to say it's important for people to recognize Trump is not a conservative.
It's heartbreaking to me to see what has happened to so many of the elected officials in my party, and I know we can do better.
Cheney announced last week she would be voting for the vice president, and she also announced her father, the former vice president, Dick Cheney, would be as well.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it.
Cheney told Jonathan Karl people like Utah Senator Mitt Romney and former Vice President Mike Pence should take the extra step and go ahead and vote for Harris for president.
Given the closeness of this election, particularly if you're going to find yourself voting in a swing state, you've got to take the extra step. If you really do recognize the threat that Donald Trump poses, then it's not enough to simply say, I'm not going to vote for him.
I'm Pamela Furr.
There are new indictments in the U.S. against alleged Russian military cyber criminals, including some with plans on creating disinformation ahead of the 2024 election. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
The U.S. Justice Department has expanded an indictment for Russian intelligence agents who launched the Whispergate attack of 2022.
Through strokes on a keyboard, these criminals crossed over borders into countries, hunting to find weaknesses and seeking to harm. The Whispergate malware attack in January of 2022 could be considered the first shot of the war.
The FBI special agent in charge of Maryland, where some computer systems were used to launch the cyber attack in Ukraine just weeks before the war in 2022.
These 6 criminals aim to cripple Ukraine's government and critical infrastructure by targeting their finances, agriculture, emergency services, healthcare, and schools.
The FBI's Bill DeBonio says the Whispergate attack in 2022 could be considered the first shot in Russia's war against Ukraine.
Through strokes on a keyboard, these criminals crossed over borders.
Assistant U.S. Attorney Matt Olson says the cyber attack was damaging.
That included government agencies responsible for emergency services in Ukraine, the judiciary, food safety, and education. Seeking to sap the morale of the Ukrainian public, the defendants also stole and leaked the personal data of thousands of Ukrainian civilians, including by posting patient health information and other sensitive private data for sale online, and then taunting those victims.
Some U.S. companies were unknowingly involved, so the Justice Department is offering a $60 million reward to help find the suspects. I'm Jackie Quinn.
The release of dueling documents surrounding the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan is drawing some attention in D.C. We'll tell you what to expect when America in the Morning returns on the other side of this. In Southern California, which is dealing with a heat wave, residents in San Bernardino County in the path of a fast-moving wildfire have been told to evacuate. The latest from correspondent Bob Brown.
Relentless heat, strong winds, and lightning strikes, with temperatures continuing to soar well over 100 degrees in parts of Southern California. It's fuel for the raging fire in San Bernardino County, where crews tried to contain a spreading line fire, forcing Governor Newsom to declare a state of emergency. Nearly 20,000 acres already scorched, and thousands of homes and buildings being threatened. First responders telling residents in the line of fire to evacuate. But this is only part of the problem. Utility crews on the move in an effort to keep the power on. The heat has put a tremendous strain on the power grid, leaving thousands of people in the dark, and that means no air conditioning.
Over 100 degrees indoors, and it was about 115 outdoors, and that was almost like 8 p.m.
Los Angeles Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez speaking with KABC TV.
In this heat, even a couple of hours feels like an eternity. And so we understand how challenging it is. We also understand the suffering that, it does affect a lot of folks. We couldn't sleep. We couldn't sleep here.
Trying to stay cool is a challenge, but in these conditions, many are not even thinking of heading out to the pool.
There's a lot of people that are just staying indoors because that's a smart thing to do.
No real relief from the heat in sight just yet. Meantime, officials urging residents to keep appliances unplugged and, if possible, to hold off on household activities such as the laundry. I'm Bob Brown.
An agonizing scene on a football field in the Florida Panhandle where a teenage high school player collapsed during a game and died. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
Port St. Joe High School wide receiver Chance Gaynor collapsed during Friday night's game at Liberty High School. Gulf County Schools Superintendent Jim Norton tells WJHG-TV that Gaynor was rushed to the hospital but died. Friday's game was canceled after his collapse. The National Federation of State High School Associations said last week that 6 players had died within the past month, 4 from heart issues and 2 from being hit. I'm Mike Hempen.
Overseas, there was concern after 2 NATO members said Sunday that Russian drones violated their airspace, including one that crashed in the Baltic nation of Latvia. Correspondent Karen Shamas reports.
Romania has said that a Russian drone flew into its airspace during nighttime attacks on neighbouring Ukraine. Meanwhile, another Russian drone crashed into eastern Latvia the previous day. Romania's defence ministry said it had deployed F-16 warplanes to monitor its airspace and issued text alerts to residents of 2 eastern regions. Meanwhile, Latvia's defence minister said that a Russian drone fell the day before near the town of Rezekne and had likely strayed into Latvia from neighbouring Belarus. I'm Karen Shamas.
On Capitol Hill, Republicans and Democrats will release dueling documents on the deadly August 2021 U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan today. That release comes after years of investigation by members on the Republican-led House Foreign Affairs Committee. CNN reporting that the conclusions of both documents laid the blame on different people. The Republican report is highly critical of the Biden administration and pins the blame for the chaotic exit exclusively on President Biden and his staff, including Vice President Harris. The report from Democrats casting blame on the Trump administration for striking a deal with the Taliban that sent the U.S. withdrawal into motion. During the withdrawal, 13 U.S. service members, of course, were killed during a terrorist attack at the Kabul airport. Reports are coming in that seem to show the next release of OpenAI's ChatGPT Advanced Voice Mode will be adding a lot of new voices and features, including some realistic animal sounds. Here's Chuck Palm with today's tech news.
According to an article on the website techradar.com, ChatGPT might be adding 8 new voices with more realistic sounds, including animal mimics. OpenAI's ChatGPT Advanced Voice Mode has not been out for more than a couple of weeks, but according to people in the know, there are at least 8 new styles of voices and other animal sounds that the Advanced Voice Mode will be able to use in the near future. Samples may still be able to be heard on X at @BTibor91, who tends to post a lot of credible AI news. United Daily News also claims that OpenAI has been in talks with TSMC to develop a new AI chipset similar to Apple's neural engines and other neural processing units. Apple had announced earlier they will be integrating ChatGPT on iPhones as part of the next generation of Siri. Bitcoin up slightly to 54,800 and Ethereum up at 2,299. For more tech news, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Robert Workman has sports.
The first Sunday of the NFL season saw the Cowboys crush the Browns 33-17. Before the game, Dak Prescott agreed to a 4-year contract extension at $60 million a season. That's the highest salary ever in the NFL. Buccaneers blasted the Commanders, 4 touchdown passes for Baker Mayfield, 2 to Mike Evans. Saints pounded the Panthers, 3 TD passes for Derek Carr. Bills rallied past the Cardinals. Josh Allen threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for 2 more, but injured his left hand on the last of those. Bears topped the Titans. Number 1 draft pick Caleb Williams' NFL debut, kind of a dud.
Be happy when I got to the locker room. You know, we got a lot more to get better at, but to get this win, first win in the books, rookie starter QB, you know, for myself is unbelievable.
Chicago bailed him out, returning a blocked punt and an interception for TDs. Successful coaching debuts for the Patriots, Chargers, and Seahawks. Lions licked the Rams last night in the first overtime game of the young season. Vikings, Texans, Dolphins, and Steelers won. Tonight it'll be the Jets and the 49ers. Quite the night for Pavin Smith and the Diamondbacks as they steamrolled the Astros 12-6. Smith hit a 3-run homer in the second inning, a grand slam in the third, and a solo shot in the fifth. His first ever multi-homer game and a career best 8 RBI. Giants hit 3 dingers in a 6-run fourth, then held on to beat the Padres. Marlins manhandled the Phillies. Connor Norby homered twice. Dodgers shut down the Guardians. Jack Flaherty and the Flares with a 6-hitter. Shohei Ohtani matched his career high with home run number 46 on the season. Royals shut out the Twins for the weekend sweep. Rays blanked the Orioles. Cubs nipped the Yankees, beating Garrett Cole on his birthday. National League victories for the Rockies, Braves, Reds, and Pirates. American League winners, Tigers, Rangers, White Sox, and Mariners. Top seed Yannick Sinner won the U.S. Open men's final in straight sets over American 12 seed Taylor Fritz. And Joey Logano took race number 1 in the NASCAR playoffs in Atlanta. That's Monday Sports.
Beetlejuice hit movie theaters over the weekend, so did it live up to the hype? We'll find out when America in the Morning returns after this. Beetlejuice conjured up a huge haul at the box office this weekend. Kevin Carr has the details.
The ghost with the most made the most for the ghost at the weekend box office. Beetlejuice haunted theaters this weekend, scaring up a whopping $110 million. That's not only the second highest September debut after Stephen King's It crawled out of the sewers in 2017, but it's also more than the original Beetlejuice made in its entire theatrical run. not adjusting for inflation, of course.
The juice is loose.
The Legacy sequel's weekend haul is also more than its reported budget of $100 million, so it should be in the black pretty soon, which is what studios absolutely dream about.
Really more nightmare material.
Another huge theatrical sequel, Deadpool and Wolverine, settled for second with $7.2 million.
I'm the Messiah.
Not bad for the R-rated superhero movie in its 7th weekend.
There's nothing a retired governor can do about the Soviets, but a president. Now he can do a thing or two.
Dennis Quaid held well as the Gipper in his Reagan biopic, climbing to 3rd place with $5.2 million.
This place gives me the creeps.
Alien Romulus dropped to number 4 with $3.9 million, while the Blake Lively romantic drama It Ends With Us slipped to number 5 with $3.7 million.
We break the pattern, or the pattern breaks us.
With releases slowing down until Joker Folie à Deux comes out next month, Beetlejuice should have no trouble staying atop the box office approaching Halloween. I'm Kevin Carr.
And with more entertainment news, here's correspondent Margie Zaraletta.
I got royalty inside my DNA.
Kendrick Lamar will headline the Super Bowl halftime show. The Super Bowl is set for February 9th in New Orleans. Ryan Seacrest is taking over hosting duties from Pat Sajak on Wheel of Fortune starting Monday after Sajak retired. Co-host Vanna White says her advice to Seacrest was simple.
I just told him to be himself, and I mean it's perfect because he is himself, and everybody's going to love who he is. They get to know the real Ryan, you know.
Meanwhile, Sajak won the Emmy for Best Game Show Host at the Creative Arts Emmys over the weekend for his last season on Wheel of Fortune. Angela Bassett won her first Emmy for narrating the National Geographic show Queens. The main Emmy ceremony will be next Sunday on ABC. I'm Margie Zaraletta.
DirecTV customers might be thinking this is like adding insult to injury, but the pay TV subscribers recently lost ABC, ESPN, and other Disney-owned channels due to a still unresolved contract fight. And now customers are getting notices that there'll be an increase in prices next month. The higher pricing for DirecTV satellite TV and streaming TV services will take effect on or after October 6th. Streaming and satellite TV package prices are expected to rise from $2 to $10 a month. As the contract issues with Disney continue, DirecTV has offered a one-time $20 credit to customers to account for the missing Disney networks. DirecTV has over 11 million subscribers. That's less than half the overall amount of subscribers it had in 2016. America in the Morning for Monday, September 9th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. And this is Westwood One.